Hey guys, it's Lauren here and my husband, Kevin McCarthy.
Hey everyone.
Kevin reviews for our local Fox 5 here in DC, and also he's a co-host of CinemaBlend.com's Real Blend podcast, which is an amazing podcast. You can find it anywhere, wherever podcasts are available.
Right.
Of course.
Yes. And DCFilmGirl.
Oh yes, and of course I do movie reviews weekly for WBAL-TV, which is the NBC in Baltimore. We wanted to do a quick video of our top 10 films of 2019. There's been a lot of great movies that we've seen this year. Kevin and I don't really make worst lists anymore.
No, we don't believe in the worst lists. Everyone works hard on movies.
Everybody works hard on movies. We're going to mention a couple of honorable mentions at the end, but we're going to count down from 10 to 1. I will kick it off. I saw so many great movies this year. I think I've seen over 130, 140 movies.
Yeah, Lauren usually sees a lot more movies than I do because of our schedules, but generally speaking, this is it. So we're very excited to share our list.
Yeah, and all of these movies I did see in a movie theater, and I've also rewatched a lot of movies this year too. So my number 10 movie is Midsommar. Directed by Ari Aster. Of course, he did Hereditary with Toni Collette, which came out last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either last year or the year before. I think, last year. And this was like kind of his follow-up to then. And the number 10 spot was kind of strange for me because like there's so many movies I was thinking about putting in here, but Midsommar is what stayed with me the most. I absolutely love Florence Pugh. I think she's really having a moment right now with this and Little Women and Fighting with My Family. She's one of my favorite actresses working today, and one of my favorite actresses to watch. And overall, I love the cinematography, the score, the direction, the performances, and I loved the overall theme at the very end, which I kind of will not give away, but it's almost an allegory for a not so great relationship in a way, and that's the major theme that I enjoyed about Ari Aster's film.
Yeah, and I like Midsommar. I just didn't love it. I felt numb after the movie was over, to be honest with you. So
yeah, no, I mean, I liked how he did a theme about a relationship, but also within a horror film, which was kind of crazy. Yeah. What was your number 10?
My number 10 was Dolomite.
Dolomite
is my name.
Dolomite is my name. Yeah.
Which is Eddie Murphy. I just thought it's his best performance he's done since The Nutty Professor. I just think he's so great in the film. And Lauren and I, we love movies about making movies. We always have. And I think that the beauty of, we're married, we met in a movie theater, and we just love movies about movies. So this movie was very interesting because it was about the making of a film that wasn't necessarily considered to be a good movie. Rudy Ray Moore's movie, it was considered to be like so bad it was good. But I actually think what they make in this film seems awesome. I actually want to see the real Dolomite movie now, which I haven't had a chance to yet. But I just think that Eddie Murphy delivers his best performance hands down since Nutty Professor. I just think he owns this role, and I think he's great in it. I love that Craig Brewer, the director. If you haven't seen Hustle and Flow or Black Snake Moan, he really kind of incorporates some old school film stuff into this movie as well. Since it takes place in a certain time period, you actually have directors using film cameras in the movie, which was interesting, even though the movie shot digitally, which is strange. But I do love the movie. I'll give it a 10. It's my number 10 of the year. So
no, it's a really good pick. I enjoyed Dolomite as well. Number 9. What's the movie I've watched the most this year? It's After.
Yeah, After. Yeah, she loves it. I've seen After 3 times.
So I love Anna Todd's series, the After series, so much. I will say when I first saw this movie in the theater, it was very different from the book experience and the fact that it was PG-13 related. Some of the plot points that were very unique and essential to the book were changed in the movie, but I've seen it so many times since then, and I think besides Anna's amazing story, I think it just really equates to Hero Finds to Finn and Josephine Langford and their chemistry. I think that these are two young actors that I just want to watch in everything they do for the rest of their careers now. And yeah, I've seen this movie literally more times than I can count. I think I saw it 3 times in theaters, multiple times, on Blu-ray and Netflix. And I mean, it's one of those movies that I think even has the potential to be better, which is why I'm really excited for Roger Kumbel's R-rated version of After We Collided, the sequel, to come out in 2020.
Because your favorite movie of all time.
Cruel Intentions. So After has been actually a really big part of my year in 2019. I've seen the movie, I did the set visit for After We Collided, and the books honestly just changed my life. I got a Pardon Scott tattoo. So I mean, it's really just like a special movie for me, and I do wish the movie was more similar to the book in some ways, but it's one of those movies that's just going to be always special to me, and I had to put it on my list.
Well, that's the one thing about these lists is that they're favorite lists.
They're favorites, yeah.
So the list becomes a personal list, and nobody can really argue with you if you're wrong or right because it's your personal favorite list.
Yeah.
So,
and I've like literally turned on so many of my friends to After too.
Yeah.
Like I've recommended it to all of my friends who have like read the books and seen the movie.
Right. All right. So my number 9 is going to be Knives Out, and so what's gonna happen is if I ended up mentioning a film in my 10 through 1 that Lauren has on her list somewhere else, we're going to discuss the film when each of us mentions it for the first time, and then once the person gets to that number on their list, we'll just go past it again.
So you're saying After isn't on your list?
After's not on my list. I do like After. I actually thought After was pretty good. Knives Out. I love Knives Out. I mean, it's interesting because I think Rian Johnson, who I think is one of my favorite filmmakers working today, I loved Looper, I loved Brick, I loved Brothers Bloom. I did not love The Last Jedi, but I do think he's an incredible filmmaker, and I think Knives Out is just one of the greatest scripts I've heard. It's shot gorgeously, even though I wish he shot it on film. It was shot digitally. There is one 35mm shot in the movie somewhere, which Rian Johnson will not reveal. Apparently it's in Daniel Craig's monologue towards the end of the film, but I really love the movie. I think it's an incredibly well-paced film, also one of the best audience movies I've ever seen, so that's my number 9.
Yeah, so Knives Out's actually my number 7, so
Right.
I absolutely loved it. I saw it at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it was easily the best audience experience I had at the film festival itself, and also throughout this year. It's just one of those movies where you see it with a crowd, everybody's on the same page, having so much fun, amazing cast. I mean, like, it would take me 10 years to recite everybody who's in the cast. Yeah. But yes, Rian Johnson, I really enjoy him as a filmmaker, and Knives Out is just one of those like communally fun experiences that you can have at the theater. There's literally something in the movie for everybody. There's comedy, drama, thrills, horror, and you rarely see that in movies today, so definitely in my top 10.
Yeah, shout out to Nathan Johnson, who's cousins with Rian Johnson, who's been doing Ryan's scores since they first started. The only one he didn't do that I believe that he didn't do was obviously John Williams did Last Jedi, but the score in that movie is absolutely incredible. So that's my number 9 of the year. So you're number 8. Yes.
My number 8. I know Kevin's gonna be happy about this. Jay and Silent Bob reboot,
there we go.
directed by Kevin Smith.
And that's my number 3. So we'll mention that one now.
Kevin. Yeah, no, it's definitely the best comedy I've seen of the year. I will say you definitely have to be like a Kevin Smith fan to really go into this movie.
Again, this is a favorite list.
This is a favorite.
And that's the whole thing is like I grew up on Kevin Smith, so I grew up on Clerks and Dogma and Chasing Amy and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Mallrats. So he's one of my top 5 favorite filmmakers of all time. So anybody watching this video who's going, oh, how could you put a Kevin Smith movie in your top 10? I think he's a phenomenal filmmaker, and I think that this year particularly has been really such a great year for movies, and I think that while he does comedy, and he's done horror really well as well with Red State and films like Tusk, I do think he's genuinely a great filmmaker, and I think that while the comedy is raunchy and R-rated and dealing with like weed and fart jokes, I get that, but it's really funny and really heartfelt, and I think both of us will tell you we both got really emotional watching this film. It's like Clerks 2. In Clerks 2, when Jeff Anderson and Brian O'Halloran are in the jail after the horrific scene that happens at the restaurant movies, there's a great moment in that film where they're like talking about their friendship, and they're like, and it made me cry. And same thing kind of happened here. I think as Kevin gets older as a director, I'm just finding his movies to be as hilarious as they always were, but also more emotional. So that's my number 3. It's your number 8.
Yeah, and the Ben Affleck scene is like one of my favorite pieces of dialogue and monologue I've seen in a film all year. It, like I said, this is kind of like the Endgame of all of Kevin Smith's movies. So if you're a Kevin Smith fan, like there's no way you're not gonna like it. It's definitely my favorite Kevin Smith movie, and I've seen a lot of them. Every one of them being married to Kevin for
we spent an entire weekend with my parents watching all of Kevin Smith's movies.
Yeah, so it's
I'm trying to introduce all my parents to their work.
Yeah, no, and it's a special movie, for us this year, especially. So I mean, like, it's definitely Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Number 8 for me for sure.
My number 8 is Marriage Story, and this is this on your list?
Yeah, it's my number 2.
Okay, so this is Noah Baumbach and his and his partner Greta Gerwig directed 2 of the best movies I've seen this year, and I don't have Little Women on my top 10, but it's in my honorable mentions, and I loved it. And shout out to Greta Gerwig for shooting 35mm on that.
Yeah.
But Noah Baumbach Marriage Story was a fascinating film to watch, especially with my wife. It's a very, as Laura Dern says it, it's a love story told through divorce.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly well written script with performances from Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson that are two of the best I've seen this year.
Oh, easily.
It's a horror film, one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, because it just really feels like you're watching a documentary of a real life couple going through a divorce, and it's a really scary thing to watch because it's just so real when you're watching it. Not that we're going through that, but I mean that by no, what I mean by that is when you're watching a movie like this, it feels like you're watching real life and not watching a movie.
His dialogue is so organic. I wouldn't say like it felt like a horror movie to me, just like the realness and the sadness of this couple who clearly has feelings for each other and their young son, but they just decided that they literally can't work together. And it's my number 2 of the year because, and I've seen it twice, it's over 2 hours long, but it just flies by so quickly for me. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson are just like so great in it together, and Noah Baumbach's dialogue is just so spot on and realistic, and I really don't feel like a lot of dialogue is written like that, especially even when you're like even when married couples in movies are having fights. Like, it's not like this. It's just very real. One of my favorite movies I've seen, in recent years too, and it's on Netflix. It's amazing. You should watch it. My number 2 of the year, Marriage Story.
All right, so Lauren said she wanted to get through this in 10 minutes, so we're
right.
we're probably over 10 minutes now. So go ahead with your number 8.
No, my number 7 was Knives Out, which we already discussed.
We already discussed that. My number 7 is The Irishman.
Oh, okay, that's not on my list. I did enjoy it though.
Yeah, I love The Irishman. I definitely. I feel like Martin Scorsese is the filmmaker that he is now, is the filmmaker that I really truly love of him. My favorite movie he ever made is Hugo, and I understand that might be conflicting to how great Goodfellas and Raging Bull and Taxi Driver and
my favorite movie is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, it's a great. Wolf of Wall Street's great. Casino.
We watched it last night, actually.
Yeah, it's really really good. And but Irishman is an incredible film because it's the other perspective of what happens to organized crime people at the end of their lives, and the sadness of looking back in your life and thinking you've wasted everything and you weren't there for your family and things like that. And De Niro's character is really struggling with that throughout the film as he's telling us the story from the nursing home. And you're taking place over 51 years, and Pacino is brilliant. I think De Niro's best performance of his career.
Oh, it's so amazing.
Because it's all in his eyes. And I think that while I don't think the CGI in the film was 100% there, I think some of it looked a little bit cheesy. Some of the scenes were like when De Niro's kicking somebody and he's supposed to be younger, he looks like he's older because he's the physicality of his body. But overall, I just think that Scorsese is one of the greatest storytellers of all time.
100%.
And once the ending of The Irishman hits, there's something that has to do with a door. That is a callback to a scene earlier in the film with Pacino and De Niro that just blew my mind. So the score in the film plays out like just a nasty growl that gets more gross throughout the film. That just really I don't know, reminded me of maybe someone dying inside. That's kind of how I felt about the way the music played in the film. And half of it was shot 35, from what I understand. It looked incredible. Just this classic Scorsese really sweeping shots. Like, it's very well done.
It's very well done. What are we on, number 6?
Yep.
Number 6, Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, that's my number 5. So
we're almost there in the middle of it. Yeah, so I mean, Avengers Infinity War was my favorite movie of last year.
I still think Infinity War is a better movie.
I do like Infinity War better as an overall movie, and I would have never guessed I would have put like a Marvel superhero movie as my number 1, but that movie last year just blew me away. And I've seen Endgame 2 or 3 times now. I think 3 times this year. And it's just one of those like things where the Russo brothers are just such great directors. They did Infinity War, they did Civil War, they did Winter Soldier, and I think like what they have to do to juggle with all these characters and have them all balanced equally, like that is almost impossible to do with that many characters. And the story and just like the ending scenes just hit me even harder like the second and third time I watched them. So that's kind of ultimately why Endgame made it on my list.
Yeah, Endgame's my number 5, primarily because of the New York time travel sequence, or that entire middle section where they go to different aspects of all the MCU. I just find it's funny because Endgame is a film that it's hard to step away from Endgame and look at it as just the movie, right? Endgame is more about the scope of 23 films over 10 years, And it does require those movies to have been seen, and that doesn't make Endgame a lesser film. It makes Endgame a more impactful film because while I think Infinity War is a better movie, I think Endgame is the scope of what they had to deal with Endgame, especially going back in those minor moments, or the New York moment from Avengers or Asgard from Thor. It was just really cool. That's my number 5.
Yeah.
That was your number 6, right? So my number 6 is Joker. Is Joker on your list?
Joker's not on my list. It would be I have it as like it would be in like my top 15, I think.
Yeah. Joker's amazing.
It's a little rough.
I mean, it's a disturbing film for sure.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, like Marriage Story, like this couple getting divorced, that's on my list. But I mean, and Joker has like, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is easily top 5 best performances of the year by any actor for me. It just didn't quite make my list, but saw it at TIFF and absolutely loved it. I mean, there's not a bad performance, and it's an extremely haunting movie. It is my favorite score of the year, though, by Hildur. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She's incredible. You talk.
Yeah, no, I just think Todd Phillips. I love Todd.
Yeah.
Ever since I saw, I grew up on Todd Phillips' movies, with Road Trip and Old School and things like that. But the moment I saw The Hangover for the first time, and the way that film was shot, cinematography wise, I believe the same DP shot Joker. His name was Lawrence, I believe, or Larry. And the way that Hangover looked to me was just, I'd never seen a comedy look like that. And I think that he shot,
really
I think Hangover was done in a way where it was almost like a detective movie just built in with an R-rated comedy with really gorgeous cinematography. So when Joker was announced, everyone was like, oh, the guy who did these movies and Due Date and War Dogs was really good. I didn't really particularly like Due Date, but that it's like Adam Sandler this year in Uncut Gems. I'm not surprised at his dramatic turn. The guy's a brilliant actor, and even I think comedy's harder than drama, so maybe drama was just an easier thing for him to do. But Todd Phillips, the scope of Joker to me is an interesting thing because Joker feels like such an intimate story. Joker feels really intimate to me, where we're watching somebody descend into madness, but at the same time, Todd does a great job of reminding us the scope of Gotham, the epic city that they're in, and Todd will explain this a lot better than I could, but as the movie goes in and out of the intimate and the epic, the intimate being Joaquin and the epic being the city's supposed to be coming down on him and crunching him to the point of breaking, which I really think is just a fascinating way to tell a story. Score is amazing. Joaquin's amazing. It's a horrific film, but it's very well done.
Yeah, and I like how Todd focused on the Joker versus like the superhero stuff. You explained it perfectly.
I like the conversation.
It's a great movie. Yeah, I mean, the movie just didn't quite make my top 10, but it's amazing. Number 5, Little Women.
Yeah, I love Little Women. This is the one ones I'm regretting not having on my top 10 because the more I think about it, the more I love it. Yeah.
So I saw it twice in theaters, once via our screener, and I was familiar with the story. I have not read Louisa May Alcott's version. I've actually read Anna Todd's version called The Spring Girls, which is a modern retelling. But I mean, I've seen several versions, and I loved the Winona Ryder, Christian Bale, Susan Sarandon 1994 version. But this one's was a little jarring for me at first because Greta Gerwig tells it non-linearly, and you know, all of the 4 lead actresses look the same. But I mean, now that I've seen it so many times, I mean, I loved it the first time I saw it, but now I just have more appreciation for what she did writing this screenplay and juggling it, because some of the points, especially with the character of Beth, hit harder the way Greta tells it through Joe March's eyes.
Well, she's
played
opening.
By Saoirse Ronan.
Greta Gerwig's filmmaking is opening up new doors of how to view the story.
How to view the story, and that's so hard to do. I would never have thought to play the story out for the audience in the way that she did. And again, Florence Pugh is amazing as Amy. She's having a moment this year. Laura Dern, Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Timothée Chalamet. I love him so much. I love the scene with Saoirse Ronan and Timothée Chalamet when they're out in the Massachusetts field. It just breaks my heart, and they continue to break my heart over and over again. Easily in my top 5 of the year. I loved it so much.
All right, my number Little Women. I just want to mention I loved the film as well, and the score was great.
And he loved how Greta shot on 35 millimeter.
35 millimeter, Alexander Desplat score.
One of my favorite scores. Yeah.
I also like the way that Greta starts the title card of the film is just a little red book in the left-hand corner, very briefly on the frame. It says it's the original pressing of the book, I believe, from Little Women, and that's the title card of the movie. I mean, it's so jarring and so interesting. I just thought the nonlinear format kept me on my toes.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like...
Yeah, he liked that.
I went into the movie going, like this idea of like it's another period piece. Only because it takes place in a certain time period, right? And but it didn't feel like a period piece. It actually felt like a really relevant film, even though it takes place in the time period it does. The themes are extremely interesting, which is why Noah Baumbach making Marriage Story and his wife or his partner Greta Gerwig making a movie called Little Women, which was both dealing with extreme elements of different types of marriage. I mean, and what Little Women's all about.
It's a good parallel that when you think about it.
Well, Little Women is interesting because Little Women's all about this idea of you have to get married in order to have status, in order to have the characters are worried about like living their lives. And if they don't get married to a man, they're worried that they're not going to have a certain way of lifestyle. That's what Joe is all against. Which I would love to see Joe meet Laura Dern's character in Marriage Story. That'd be kind of interesting. So,
what was your number 5?
My number 5 was Endgame. So we already talked about that. So what's your number 4?
Bombshell.
Oh yeah.
Bombshell's so good. And I mean, honestly, this movie, I mean, I think like the story of, you know, Roger Ailes and all the true events that happened surrounding him, you know, with his downfall at Fox News was really interesting. But the biggest thing for me in this movie was the leads. Charlize Theron as Megyn Kelly, Nicole Kidman as Gretchen Carlson, and Margot Robbie playing a producer, which was a composite of several women who accused Roger Ailes of, you know, sexual advances. And I just was blown away by all of their performances. Charlize definitely gives one of the best lead actress performances of the year. She looks and sounds so much like Megyn Kelly. But I mean, like, that's not, I mean, the performances are great, but just the movie overall, like, it's just, like, really well paced. You know, Connie Britton plays Roger Ailes' wife. John Lithgow plays Roger Ailes. The whole cast is amazing, and I've seen it twice now, and it's just, the performances are haunting, and I can't not put a movie in my top 10 that has Charlize, Nicole, and Margot. I literally talk about those three all the time. Yeah. So, like, this movie I felt like was, like, almost, like, made for me in that sense. I absolutely loved it.
All right, we're going to rapid fire these guys. I'm going to double check this right now, even though we're recording.
It's probably 50.
We're at 21 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, well, but for the record, before we start this video, Lauren said she wanted to go 10 to 12. So, I mean, I'm not.
This is
I don't mean it in a bad way.
What happens when you and I talk about movies,
which is fine.
Hard.
And then it's totally fine. But I'm worried about phone running out of space. All right, so Us is my number 4. This is Jordan Peele. I thought Get Out is one of the greatest movies of the decade. I think he's a great director, and I think Us is such a challenging film for audiences. I like directors that challenge audiences. I like directors that don't give everything to you. I like directors that make you think when you leave the theater. I saw Us 4 times. I thought it was brilliant. I think Lupita Nyong'o delivers the best performance by any actor this year. I think she's incredible, and I think she deserves to win an Oscar. Hopefully she'll get nominated.
I hope she does.
I loved Us. I thought the score, the direction, the script, everything brilliant. Number 4. Us
is my number 3.
Perfect.
So I absolutely loved it. I saw it twice in theaters. I've seen it a couple times on Blu-ray here at the house, and it's so haunting. Lupita's great. I mean, Elizabeth Moss is also, like, extremely haunting in the film as well. And though I think, like, Get Out is a better movie overall, like, I would put that above Us. I mean, this is just how great Jordan Peele is. I mean, he's just such a great writer and director. I don't know how these stories come out of his head, but Us is certainly one of the most memorable horror. I mean, I have 2 horror films on my list this year, Us and Midsommar. I mean, like...
And Marriage Story.
And... I mean, like, it's like they're literally, Jordan Peele has set the bar high for original horror. So Us is my number 3. My number 2 is Marriage Story. Absolutely loved it. Can't say enough good things about it. It's literally like a 5 out of 5 or a 6 out of 5 for me. I literally think it's a perfect drama. Loved it.
And my number 2 is Uncut Gems, which...
it's like, that would have been like my number 11 or 12. It's so amazing.
I think the Safdie brothers are... I'm so inspired by them. They're 33 and 35 years old. This film is just... It's a relentless panic attack that is just the best thing I've seen in a theater in a long time. I think that the pacing of this film is insane. I think Sandler is incredible. If you haven't seen Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas Anderson, highly recommend that. Safdie brothers shot 35mm. Their score, the score and cinematography are very leading characters in the film, along with the performances. It's just a non-stop, relentless film that takes you into this world of the Diamond District, which I didn't know a ton about. I was just very impressed with every aspect of everyone's performance, from Julia Fox, who's incredible to
First
Sandler.
time movie.
Yeah.
Her first movie, right?
Yeah. And the Safdies did a great movie years ago, if you haven't seen it, called Good Time with Robert Pattinson, which Pattinson is phenomenal, which is why I think Pattinson's now in Batman and Nolan's new movie Tenet, which I can't wait for.
Oh my God, that's one of my most anticipated.
Yeah, that's my number one most anticipated movie of the year. What's your
next year of 2020?
Yours is after
we collided.
After we collided, yeah. Mine's Tenet, but that's my number two, and I think our number ones are the same.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, no question.
But easily the best movie of the year. Quentin Tarantino's amazing. I saw it. I literally saw it in LA at the Cinerama on a Monday
Our
night.
wedding dance was Pulp Fiction, so this is
but this is so different than other things that Quentin's done.
I'm just giving an idea of what people think. Like so just so you know where we come from, we're massive Tarantino fans. Though I had a very different journey with this movie. I liked the film a lot the first time I saw it. I saw it twice on 35 and then once on 70, and then the other 5 times were on random things like a plane or home or whatever. And this movie took me 3 times to realize that I think it's Tarantino's masterpiece. While I don't think it's my favorite Tarantino movie ever, I think that would give that to either Pulp Fiction or Kill Bill or Reservoir Dogs. I think Hollywood took a really interesting turn for me as I saw it. My problem with Hollywood initially, and I liked the film a lot the first time I saw it. I still gave it a 4.5 out of 5. That's still a great rating for it. But Tarantino normally hits me with 5s, So when I
go into a Tarantino movie, I expect a 15 out of 10.
Yeah, that's Tarantino quoting me on our podcast.
Yeah.
But truly, this film, I went into this movie expecting what I wanted Quentin Tarantino to deliver to me based on all the films I'd seen from him before. I wasn't ready for Quentin Tarantino to turn the tables around and give a personal story.
Yeah.
Not that this movie's about him, it's more just about his love with Los Angeles. I feel like I learned a lot more about Quentin Tarantino from watching this movie than I did any of his movies. And I mean that because I just feel like I needed to step back and put all expectations and all bias aside. I say bias because I'm a huge fan of his work. But I needed to just sit there and let the movie speak to me, and not me think about what the movie should be saying.
You were expecting certain Tarantino characteristics,
heavy monologues,
in his movie,
like extreme violence. Obviously, the ending is very violent. I'm not saying I like violence, but Tarantino's known for his hyper violence, and
it gets more violent every time you watch it.
Which is really, I've watched it 8 or 9 times now, and I can't get over how brilliant the film is.
I think I've seen it 4 or 5 times.
Just the way he uses soundtrack is it's DiCaprio's best performance of his career, Pitt's best performance of his career.
Oh, Brad Pitt's best performance of his career. Like, hopefully he'll win Best Supporting Actor. Leonardo DiCaprio gives my favorite actor performance of the year. Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate is great. I just love everything about it. I think the one shot with Bruce Lee and Brad Pitt on set is better than any other one shot I've seen in a movie this year.
Better than any one shot in 1917. I like 1917.
I like 1917 too, but I think that Tarantino's use of one shots, just the way he tells the story, and it's just so seamless, and it actually just adds to the story. It's just so amazing, and I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so much.
Lauren and I will watch movies a lot, and she'll look over at me and say, "This is a one shot."
Yeah.
That's what happens, and it makes me really happy because I'm like, sometimes I won't even notice the one shot, and she'll point it out.
Yeah, there was tons of good movies this year. I also loved Brad Pitt and Ad Astra. I loved Booksmart.
Ad Astra's amazing. Booksmart's amazing.
Ford versus Ferrari. I loved Uncut Gems.
Peanut Butter Falcon.
I saw The Rise of Skywalker 3 times in theaters.
We love The Rise of
Skywalker.
Yeah, if you're Star Wars fans and you're watching this video, we love The Rise of Skywalker.
And I loved Hustlers, Queen and Slim. And I also love Shazam. There's so many other movies that
Shazam was on my top 10 at one point.
At one point, yeah.
And so was Booksmart.
Yeah, so it's hard to fit everything, but we wanted to do a firm top 10 this year. So yeah, that's it. Go check out Kevin on his Twitter at Kevin McCarthy TV, and I'm at DCFilmGirl. Thanks for tuning in and watching. See you in the movies in 2020, I guess.
Thank you. Cool.
Cool.